This House is in session.
We committal of orders of the day, sir.
Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the suspension of Standing Orders 67.3. As you're aware, Mr. Speaker, in the process of these estimates, each head is allotted 6 hours. We have already reached approximately 5 hours and 18 minutes on the tourism head. And there are several other questions I believe that members would wish to raise, and therefore I beg to move the suspension of Standing Order 67.3 to facilitate the ongoing of the debate for the purpose of today, for the remainder of today's sitting.
The question is that Standing Order 67.3 be suspended for the remainder of the day sitting. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. Standing Order 67.3 is hereby suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting. Government business is the order of the day.
Yes,
Prior to the suspension on Friday afternoon, this Honourable Chamber was in Standing Finance Committee. We resume Standing Finance Committee.
Mr. Chairman.
This is now in Standing Finance Committee. We resume with Head 27, Honourable Member for St. James North.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to all, and Minister, Member of Parliament for St. Michael, West Central. Welcome to your team as well here. And I wish first to commend your ministry, Minister, Honourable Minister, and to especially commend the initiative of a completely new fish market, renovation of the Millie Eiffel Fish Market in Western St. James, one of the hearts of my constituency. In progress right now is the construction of a state-of-the-art fish market, and the fishing industry is, after tourism and perhaps construction, the main economic industry in St. James North. I believe the cost of it is, the overall cost is going to be $2.7 million. It is very much disabilities friendly. Of course, we would have made sure that it is. It has bathroom facilities, changing room facilities for persons with disabilities, disability access, and I believe, Minister, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, or your Port Authority CEO, that it is to be completed in June 2024, June this year, in other words, in 3 months' time. And I would like to know, on behalf of my constituents, whether we are still on course for that. Occasionally I visit myself, and I am assured that it is coming on well, but would just like to know if this deadline in the middle of the year, this year, is still on. My second comment before I ask the question is the need for enhanced community tourism. I know the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister, Leader of Government Business, referenced this issue on Friday. I certainly support it. St. James North, my constituency, is one of the main tourist belt constituencies, and I am fully aware of the importance of the tourist industry to my constituents. That was never demonstrated more than during COVID, when I estimate that 85% of the households in my constituency were affected through loss of employment during COVID because of the virtual shutting down of our tourism and hospitality and entertainment industries. But, Minister, I am of the view that enough tourist dollars that come into Barbados are not spent within the communities, or it doesn't reach our communities. I believe, quite honestly, that perhaps not enough foreign exchange from tourism comes into Barbados in the first place, because, as I understand it, still a lot of the tourists pay for their holidays overseas, and monies may only be transferred as needed to the hotels that are owned to a large degree by foreign interests, when they need, obviously, to pay salaries and to do maintenance, etc. So I'm one of the strong believers, and I would like to see more tourist dollars, more foreign exchange going down into my communities for the benefit of people. And I believe, certainly from my experience too as a tourist, and I've been to, 1/3 of the countries in the world, that there are many tourists who would like a more local experience, to go into the communities, the districts, see how people live daily, see how to play road tennis, to drink coconut water, cut the coconut water. And I'm here calling for more direct benefits to our communities.
Honourable Member, I'm calling for the direct benefit of you.
Of me asking a question. Yes, sir. With the thrust of our country and other CARICOM countries towards doing greater business with the African continent, Minister, what is the possibility of us having direct flights from Barbados to the African continent within the foreseeable future? Thank you for your indulgence, Honourable Chairman.
Thank you, Honourable Member, and thanks for the kind remarks on behalf of the Ministry's team. You are correct that you You are correct that the Eiffel fish market is due for completion June of this year. I have been advised that construction is going well there, and I'm sure since you visit the site very often that you'll be very pleased with the construction to date. It is estimated to cost us $3 million, and we are still within that figure of $3 million. The important thing is that the build-out of the fish market will also have some kiosks at that location. And it's all part, and this is for the benefit not only of members of this Honourable Chamber, but for the benefit of the people of Barbados, that the works undertaken, this $3 million upgrade, which will be a new bill, frankly, is part of the port's corporate social responsibility program. That is an opportunity that the port gives back some of its profits to the community. You will also recall that the port would have completed a fire station at the Bridgetown port, not for the exclusive use of the port, but for the Bridgetown and its environs within a surrounding radius. So we have to, of course, thank the port for staying true to their corporate responsibility and assisting us in this build-out. In addition to that, Honourable Member, you're quite right. Community tourism is a feature of sustainable tourism, and for that reason, it is envisaged that the kiosk that we have there would be an opportunity to bring the community alive. Of course, you would have heard last Friday when we met here about initiatives to be undertaken, including allowing visitors to experience fish boning and the other characteristics of that sector. But it's also important for us to ensure that when we have new initiatives like the Eiffel Fish Market, once completed, to create a wonderful opportunity where visitors and locals alike can go and have some entertainment and also eat some fresh fish, have it grilled or have it pan-fried, however they like it prepared. So I think that we are moving in the right direction. Of course, once the fish market is completed, it will be a wonderful opportunity for the BTMI to get in there, as well as to assist and to encourage the communities, as I've indicated last Friday, to build out community tourism. With respect to, and I might also add, that is not only the kiosks that we are building at Weston in St. James, we are also going to be constructing kiosks at Pile Bay. And again, it has the same focus. It's not only building out a new facility for fisher folk and others who work in that area, but it's also about creating another visitor experience or a guest experience, as we refer to it, at Pile Bay. So we will have an extension of what you're realizing across Barbados in respect of kiosks. With respect to the question, not enough foreign exchange coming to Barbados, I perhaps might have a view, only because I've spent close to 30 years within the hospitality sector. But I do say that when there are hotel companies, especially those who borrow from the banks or banking institutions or any other financial institution, there are usually covenants associated with loans that are given. And oftentimes a covenant would position the borrower to ensure that all currency is held in accounts in Barbados, whether it be a local denominated account or a foreign exchange account. Obviously, hotels will have their operating expenses that they have to fund. But all I can say to that question is that as long as we are realizing growth, there are other opportunities and mechanisms, I'm sure, that the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs could also review in order to ascertain and to answer your question in more detail. But I can only tell you from my years within the industry what obtains within especially a publicly traded company. Thank you.
Minister, the issue of Africa, reaching out a bit more.
Thank you. In respect of Airlift out of the African continent, we are working we've had a number of discussions with at least 3 entities with a view of building out Airlift into Barbados. Those negotiations are ongoing. We firmly believe that there are points in Africa that could redound to our benefit, not only for long stay visitors, but also for the cruise passengers. And therefore, I had discussions recently where I also indicated to cruise lines executives the opportunity where we can drive business from the African continent. It will be a very good and noble idea for visitors and residents who live in Africa to come to Barbados, take a stay, of course, and then cruise the Caribbean and give them the opportunity to experience it. But it is a work in progress, and I do not want to say much more, Honourable Member. You know my style. Once we have it in the bag and it's all completed, then we'll make an announcement. But I'll say this, we have to have a sustainable platform in order to continuously drive business from the African continent, and that is what we're doing now. At the appropriate time, the BTMI will be making an announcement with respect to an officer that we would like to place in that market, because it's important that we do so in order to have a person on the ground coordinating and driving behind the gateway marketing, because if we're going to have a flight coming out of Africa, we have to be in a position to sustain it, and that's very important. It would also create an opportunity if we can get an airline or airlines out of Africa for the connectivity onwards, for example, connectivity onto the United States or the UK. And it would certainly reduce the travel time associated if, for example, any member of this chamber or any member of the public would wish to go to Africa, they would have to go up to United Kingdom, which is approximately 8 hours, and then they will have to go down if they're going to Accra, if they're going to Botswana, if they're going to South Africa. And you can well imagine, depending on the point, you can probably move from 6 hours maybe to 10 hours out of London. So we believe it is also central to what we are building out in Barbados, a hub, not only a hub for the Eastern Caribbean, but a hub for the African continent into Barbados. It also is a wonderful opportunity for us to drive cargo trade from Africa to Barbados. So if we can have the passenger and passenger load factor at a very good rate, and on top of that, if we can have the belly, as they refer to, of the aircraft with cargo, is going both ways, I believe it would be a win-win situation for Barbados. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. My second intervention relates to the issue of influencers, using influencers as a marketing tool to bring tourists to Barbados. People have asked me recently if we really believe that we are getting good returns on this. I don't know what are the terms of reference for them, but you see on social media, for example, during crop over, influence being utilized to try to market Barbados. Could you, through this Parliament, sir, tell Barbadians what really this is about?
Thank you, Honourable Member, of course. Let me hasten to say that not all influencers who come to Barbados that we are paying for, because I know that there is a myth out there that once you see all the influencers out there and they're posting, that somehow the BTMI is footing the bill. I can tell you, including a number of celebrities who were on the island, the BTMI did not pay any monies to them. They came to Barbados, loved Barbados, I would say, enjoyed it, and they did a number of social media postings to the benefit of Barbados, including the famous DJ who came here. over the holiday festive period. When we have familiarization trips to Barbados, commonly known as FAM trips, we always include, along with the media contingent, a number of influencers, media specialists, and we are very selective in how we go about with our familiarization visits. Those included on the team would be not only travel agents, travel salespersons or travel counselors from within the United Kingdom market. Depending on the market we are focusing on, we bring them here. And we also bring travel writers, because the benefit of having travel writers would be to expose Barbados as a destination within their publications, for which we can't pay. The other significant fact is that when we have influencers, and the influencers must be dedicated to certain target groups, it also helps us to get the message and to brand Barbados and to put brand Barbados in the marketplace. The only cost to us when they come here is if we have to accommodate them and if we have to provide meals for them. And we do that within a very short window. But believe you me, when I tell you as an industry veteran or former executive, it is worth it. Hotels also do it. They have familiarization visits to Barbados, and they do the same thing. So we're going to continue to focus on not only influencers, but other media personnel, and of course the people who make the difference and sell Destination Barbados, the people who work in tour operator-based companies, and those who work in travel agent online, and those who have the physical presence. So we will continue to do so, but I thought it best to let you know that not every influencer who comes to Barbados, and certainly the last set that you would have seen posted, and I really want to take this opportunity as well to thank them, because what they did for Barbados, like I said earlier, we can afford to pay for it within the realities of our budget. So big thank you to them. I would like many more to come to Barbados, enjoy Barbados, and continue to post all the positives that they posted about Barbados online, because it, once again, helps us to support. I mean, when you think about what we're doing, we're building out airlift capacity. And once we have airlift capacity into Barbados, it is also important that we do whatever we have to do behind the marketing gateway. And therefore, the influencers would be best positioned to help us. And therefore, we welcome them. And like I said, I would like even more to come to Barbados. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, Honourable Minister. And Honourable Chairman, my final intervention relates to people with disabilities and tourism. Honourable Minister, you would recall last year during estimates, I raised issues as to the need for employment of more persons with disabilities within the tourist industry, hospitality industry, entertainment industry, and the need for us to become, or for our tourist product, for which you're responsible, to be more disabilities friendly, so that we can attract more people with disabilities, international travelers, of which there are many, and of which they spend to a significant degree a lot of foreign exchange, because a lot of these individuals have acquired a disability through some negligence, act of negligence, whether road traffic accident, medical, whatever, and get large personal injuries claims. And if, sir, you can give a report on what progress may have been made in this regard since last year when we discussed this issue during the estimates debate.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I would also like to remind you that a lot of the major brands that we have in Barbados, they have key brand requirements, and including those brand requirements, the company must have disability-friendly environment, and therefore a lot of those who don't have it, obviously in the numbers that we're looking for, obviously I am aware that they're making arrangements to do so. And like I said, these are major brands that must make provision, because it's all part of their operating requirements. With respect to what we've done, I will ask Nicole Aline, who heads up the National Tourism Program, to respond to you. And I would also ask the head of the Product Quality Division, Lana Harewood, sorry, I was trying to, apologies, Lana Harewood, to also give you an update, because we have a bill which is pending, the Tourist Accommodation Bill. And in that bill, specific reference was made to the very points that you raised. I will ask first Nicole Aline to speak, who can speak to a lot of the improvements in respect of sidewalks and everything that the Senior Minister responsible for infrastructure is acutely aware of, and who perhaps will help us, as well as Lana Harewood, who will address the matter. Ms. Nicole Aline.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you, Minister. Good morning again, honorable members of the House. My name is Nicole Aline, and I am the project coordinator for the National Tourism Program. To your question, Member of Parliament, under the National Tourism Program, we have an initiative called the Tourist Urban Route, which looks at showcasing our World Heritage property. And we made a direct intervention in ensuring that it is accessible by members of the disabled community, persons with disabilities. When we were designing that particular product, we had members of the Barbados Council for the Disabled accompany us on a walkthrough to show us what were the issues that needed to be addressed to ensure that they will also be able to participate in that particular product once it was developed. And we did that for that particular product. We did it as well for the Oystins product, which is also being developed under the National Tourism Program. And more recently, when we held the town hall meeting that discussed the work we're doing at the museum, coming out of that meeting, we had a separate discussion with the Barbados Council for the Disabled to make sure that the requirements and the areas that they're required to be addressed were part and parcel of the design of that facility before we move forward to the tender stage, which is where we are right now. So we have made direct interventions to ensure that that National Tourism Program takes account of the community of persons with disabilities. And it is also in due recognition, I might add, if I can take this opportunity to say that, of the fact that our returning visitors are of the silver market, and they also have mobility issues. And as we go forward, when we had a discussion last Friday, we discussed additional attractions coming online and what we were doing. And we certainly need to make sure that those attractions are in recognition of the demographic that that are coming to Barbados and the issues they're facing, and to make sure that they can participate in our product. So it is also as a result of the demographic that is coming to visit here in Barbados. So those are some of the initiatives, Member of Parliament, that we have taken, some of the steps we've taken to ensure that we accommodate all persons, and we truly are developing an all-inclusive tourism product. Thank you.
I'll ask Lana Harewood to speak to the matter as well.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members of the House. My name, Lana Harewood, Manager, Product Quality, Barbados Tourism Product Authority. Yes, to answer your question, last year we would have indicated the new tourist accommodation bill will be all-inclusive to all persons. That bill right now is with the Chief Parliamentary Council, and it does take into account 20 designators, which the hoteliers can apply for. These designators will highlight prominent features of the establishment. And one of the designators is universal access. And within the bill, the universal access will take into account the international universal access criteria, as well as our national universal access criteria. So the tourism accommodation providers can go internationally or nationally for this designator. So we have taken this very seriously, and we are also encouraging regular tourist accommodation providers right now, as we do our inspections, to consider adapting their properties to incorporate differently able persons on every regard. Thank you.
And Honourable Member, just to your point, I will ask the Chair of the BTMI to just come in on the issue of additional activities for the African market. Chair? Ms. Shelley Williams.
Thank you, Minister. Good morning, Chair, and good morning, honourable members. My name is Shelley Williams, the Chair of the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc. We are very engaged when it comes to Africa. For the first time this year, we will be attending the WTM Africa that's going to be held in South Africa in April. Traditionally, we go to WTM in London, we go to it in Brazil for LATAM to build out the Latin American market. But now for the first time this year, we will be going to South Africa to attend the World Travel Market there. With this in mind, we need to be able to meet the travel partners there, who is in the travel business. It is new market for us. So it's important to have legitimate, meet the legitimate partners in travel and trade, as well as talk to other airlines. We have been talking to some airlines at present, but we felt the need to attend their travel trade and establish one like WTM to make sure that we are speaking to the right persons and we have the right partners to build out that market. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Chairman.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Member for Christchurch South.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of Committees, and good morning. Good morning, Minister and your team. Perhaps we should all feel some pleasure that by now we have established that this is an exercise in which government agrees to account for all of its activities, certainly to this Parliament. And since this is broadcast to the public, it should feel that sense of accountability to the public as well. And if that is the intent and if that is the spirit in which we proceed, please permit me to ask the following questions so that the public and this Parliament may be well informed as to the activities of government. I want to focus on the question of investment, tourism investment, and more particularly on this occasion, investment into hotel development. Now, I know you're aware, Honourable Member, that when the government took office, there was a stated plan to develop that area from Needham's, I think at the time it was said, down to Pelican. That's close to the Bridgetown port. And what I will do now, I will name some of the projects along that corridor which were meant to receive attention in terms of hotel development, and ask you, Minister, to issue a report card to this Parliament and to the people of Barbados as to that proposal so well articulated at the time. Now, this proposal began at Needham's. That is the area for the sake of Barbadians in the immediate area of the Hilton, the well-known Hilton Hotel. I believe I am obligated to state a professional interest, a private professional interest in that area of Needham's, where Mobile used to be located. As far as I'm aware, it is still unresolved, and hopefully government will find it possible to resolve that matter soon, since the matter needs to be resolved if there's to be any physical tourism hotel development in that area. So I do declare that interest, that private professional interest. And so I will name those areas that stretch from the Hilton, Needham's area down to the Bridgetown Port, and give you, Minister, the opportunity to issue that report card to the people of Barbados. So there's Needham's, the former Mobile refinery site. Then we come down Bay Street. As we know, there has been much publicity given to the matter of Savvy. This is opposite, I think, Gemmett's Lane. I think the people of Barbados, who seem well invested, not financially, but well invested in visitations to that area has been over the years a very popular destination for the residents of Bridgetown. And therefore, the people of Barbados would want to know what is government's proposal in relation not to disclose the arrangements between the owner of that property and government, not to disclose that, but to give an overview to the public of Barbados as to what is happening there. The other area, and we're coming down Bay Street, the other area is Hyatt. Now, Barbadians have observed this with an intense interest. And more than once, more than twice, and at least 3 times, separate ministers have told the public of Barbados that the Hyatt project will begin, and I quote, shortly. Now, again, the people of Barbados have an economic interest, because that Hyatt property, and we shouldn't be shy about saying this, that Hyatt property includes public property. Certainly the area, I think, where the Harbour Police Station used to be located, and since government proceeded to invoke the Compulsory Land Acquisition Act to acquire private property, that I suppose would be considered public property, so that the public must feel invested in this issue of Hyatt. What is going on? When will it happen? Have we used Parliament to acquire private lands for a public purpose? It must be stated. And yet that public purpose has not come to fruition many months, years after. So please place that within the report card for the sake of the public. Then we come to the Pierhead. Again, these are not questions intended to meet. These are not hostile questions. These are questions being asked on behalf of a public that wishes to know how government is spending government's money, a public that wants to know the direction in which this country's physical development plan is going, insofar as it relates to tourism, insofar as it relates to hotel development, so that the Pierhead, whatever is the state of the work, proposed or active or actual, please tell the public what is happening there. Please tell the public if there are any plans to utilize the boardwalk area, since certainly the boardwalk area, a beautifully developed area in Bridgetown, except that it only accommodates pedestrians traveling from the lower side of Bridgetown to the upper side of Bridgetown. So we'd want to know if government has some active plan to integrate that beautiful boardwalk project into Bridgetown proper, Broad Street, Swan Street, and so on. But more particularly, the backside, no offense meant, the backside of the buildings that constitute Broad Street. Some time ago, I think the Honourable Member for Christchurch West came to this Parliament, and the Treasury building was dealt with as a building intended for some use. I think the public, not a lot appears to have happened, not administratively, but actively in relation to that Treasury building. Is it housing? Is it tourism? Is it housing for the sake of tourism? What is happening there? The public would certainly want to know, will it degenerate further than it is now while it remains inactive? So what is happening there? The stretch along Hink Street, that is worrying. That is worrying. And we speak as patriotic Barbadians that these old buildings, I believe still privately owned, seem not to be as well utilized as they could be. There seems to be a fairly conspicuous inactivity along that stretch, apart from a few shops and so on. We know what COVID did to work, the whole concept of work, and the disappearance of the physical office. And that is an area with so many buildings which may become a casualty of the COVID revolution in relation to the non-use of buildings. Tourism potential, perhaps. Please place that among the report card. And I don't know what would happen at Princess Alice. It's never been a project that one could have described as being successful.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition,
Yes, please. Yes, Your Honour. So that, Honourable Member, please, if you follow, and I know you follow my question, could you give this Parliament and Barbados a report, including those individual projects that I've referred to? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I hope you don't cause me to get into trouble, because when I last checked, investments was not part of my portfolio. Mm-hmm. So I have to be very careful and navigated.
Yes, I appreciate that.
But I believe, since you are part of the opposition, and to avoid anybody suggesting that I am perhaps running from the question or not prepared to answer, let me give you my take of it. Remembering, though, that I am not responsible for tourism investment.
Yes, well, except, Minister, that they may not be coming. So you have a dual capacity. You are a minister and you're a member of the collective body called Cabinet.
And that's why I no issue with that, and I'm prepared to give you my view on it.
I appreciate
But
it.
I also believe that you should not cross ministerial lines.
Yes.
In the form of good governance.
Yes.
And you, as a lawyer, you know better than I do about governance.
And I appreciate your dilemma.
Yes.
But I also appreciate your generosity.
Yes, but I'll answer you.
Thank you very much.
Let's deal first with Hilton to Bridgetown Port. And I'm glad you mentioned Hilton, because Hilton, as you know, is one of our national assets. It has given us, in my judgment, a very strong and bright and rewarding future after a period of less than spectacular performance under the previous administration. By that I mean the earning potential was still below what an owner would have expected as a return on the investment. But through a refocus and more strategic approach to the details of the profit and loss statement, which I mandated as minister coming in, the financial fortunes of that entity has been turned around. I will also very shortly ask the financial controller or finance director of the Hilton to speak to you and to give you additional details on that matter. Suffice to say that there's also an ongoing hotel refurbishment plan, which is obviously meant to ensure the physical and the aesthetic conditions of the Hilton Barbados property remain very appealing to our locals and to our visitors alike, who from time to time obviously occupy the hotel. I will pause and I'll come back down as you've listed them, but I will ask the finance director, Mr. Nigel Whitehall, Nigel Hall, to give you a cursory overview of the financial success of the Barbados Hilton. Mr. Hall.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Chairman, members of Parliament, Mr. Leader of Opposition, Nigel Hall, Financial Controller, Needles Point Holdings. I think we are proud to report that, especially since the impact of COVID, we have seen significant improvement in the returns and the operations of the Barbados Hilton, and certainly the holding company for the Hilton Needles Point Holdings. Coming out of the COVID pandemic, we witnessed a significant fall off in business activity, as all the country would recognize during that period of time. Since that time, we've seen significant growth. We've been talking about recovery. I believe that what we have witnessed is a significant recovery from the COVID period. Although we were never fully shut down at that point in time, we have seen occupancies rise from the 30s, 40s, the 70s, and now we are projecting that they will fall just short of the 80s as an average year-round occupancy for the property. In addition to that, the government earns from the Hilton arrangement a return they call the owner's return. And that return is basically net profit that we get from the operations of the hotel. Coming out of COVID, we were witnessing no returns, because you would understand that with COVID and reduced revenues that we were not profitable at that point in time. But since that time, we've seen a return that has grown to what we were achieving before 2019 when the pandemic started. So in just 2 short years, 3 years, I would say, we've seen a complete recovery and a growth of that return to exceed what it was before the pandemic started. Additionally, as a company that owns the property and manages it, we've seen also a significant turnaround in the fortunes. So we were able to move from a loss during COVID, and now we have been able to receive a profit in excess of $9 million for 2023, and it's projected that as we go into the next financial year, that profit will grow to $10 million and possibly exceeding. So I think it paints a picture that shows that the Hilton operation and Needles Point Holdings has been a success story for the government of Barbados. We were able to maintain employment levels during that period. So not only were we financially profitable, but we were able also to maintain employment for the many workers who fortunate enough to be employed at that location. So I think that gives a short summary of how we've been able to perform.
And thank you very much for that, Mr. Hall. And the picture that obviously we have to paint is that, one, We've benefited from increased occupancy. And once you benefit from increased occupancy, once you have the rates, obviously your RevPAR would have increased. And as Mr. Hall indicated, the profit is on track, it's going in the right direction, and we believe that over time we will begin to see additional benefits. I must also let you know, Honourable Member, that there's currently being undertaken a feasibility study. And the objective of that study is to see how best we can expand the room inventory on that site, the existing Hilton site. And the view is that we have economic lands on the beach, and therefore it is currently reserved as a car park. How best can we build out additional room inventory on that site without displacing the car park, but looking at the view? You can have a car park below ground if necessary, but looking to see how best we can maximize. Because the challenge for Hilton, as we bring additional airlift into Barbados, there's going to be issue where persons will want to be accommodated, including crew, because a lot of the US-based hotels have a requirement for crew operations there. So the feasibility, I will ask Mr. Hall just speak very quickly, very briefly to the feasibility study, but the feasibility study will also dictate what I announced last year in the estimates, that we are seeking to build out opportunities under a joint venture arrangement with partners. Because let us be very clear, the Hilton is owned by the people of Barbados, and the Hilton will remain owned by the people of Barbados. But what we're looking to see is how best we can enter joint venture arrangements without Hilton having to incur, Needham's Point as the owner, having to incur even more debt. Because as you would appreciate, if you can get equity, it reduces obviously your interest expense and the principal, and it improves your EBITDA performance, earnings before tax, interest and depreciation. So that's what we are focusing. So just very briefly, Mr. Hall, if you can touch on the feasibility plan, please.
Yes, Minister. As the Minister rightly said, the board of Needham's Point commissioned a feasibility study to see if it would be financially, if it would make sense to expand the operations of the hotel on the grounds currently owned by the property. And we were able to get a preliminary report on that study, and it has indicated that if we were to expand the number of rooms on that location, that it would be a very successful venture, very profitable venture. So that has given us the green light now to explore options in further development on that location. Of course, that's just a preliminary study. It has to be developed further. The board will have to look further at the type of room, the number of rooms, those types of considerations. But that report has given the green light because it shows that it would be a very profitable and desirable outcome, even in the face of upcoming competition in the area and further afield across the island. So that is now being given further consideration, and I believe that more information will come on that as development continues.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hall. I'm just moving on to your question, Honourable Leader of the Opposition. In respect of the Needham's Point, the existing site there where you form, well, the former mobile site, or the site that houses the mobile refinery, I am aware that the minister, senior minister, minister responsible for infrastructure, is working very closely with the Needham's Point holding company in order to clean up the site and to ensure that once the site is cleaned up, we can create additional investment opportunities. There's also additional lands there. And again, those lands are earmarked for part of it, which is held by a private owner. And we are seeking to see how best we can develop another property, not by central government, but obviously on lands there that in part owned by a private owner, and also those in conjunction with lands currently owned by the government of Barbados. As we move to Savvy on the beach in Bay Street, I do not believe I have a right to speak to that. I believe it's before the law courts, and you as a lawyer will guide me, if you wish, that I should not. I believe it's sub judice, the matter is sub judice. I believe that's the legal term they use, and therefore I would reserve, I prefer not to speak to that matter.
Appreciate it.
In respect of the Hyatt lands there, of course, there is an investment plan that should be ready to ensure that the build of that facility, which is really needed in Bridgetown, to help give Bridgetown additional lift. Again, I would defer to the minister responsible for infrastructure. But what I would, senior minister responsible for infrastructure.
Which minister is that, please? Responsible for infrastructure?
For infrastructure.
Who is that, please?
The Honourable Member for Christchurch West, please.
Thank you very much.
But I'm sure that he's more than capable to give you an answer on that matter. But the issue is that, like you know, when you have to conclude contractual relationships and obligations, they do take some time. And oftentimes, you know, you have to ensure that the conveyance is done. You have to ensure that you have the bank financing in place. You have to make sure that all the equity partners are aligned. And I believe those things are being worked on. In respect of the Pierhead project, that is a private project. I can't comment any further on that, except to say that there are plans that are well advanced. They are properly designed. The owner of the real estate is known to Barbados, and of course will be, based on what plans have been shared, that will become a spectacular project. You will note, for example, that a lot of the boating community would have been relocated from that area to the opposite side of the Careenage to facilitate the engineering works that are ongoing. So suffice to say that there is, of course, engineering works and other works that are ongoing in order to realize that project, which I know will come through. In respect of the Treasury building, Barbados, as you would have heard in this parliament, would have had an urban renewal program. We would have discussed it in here under the Barbados Labour Party. And the urban renewal program, for which the Barbados Labour Party has been known for over the years, as well as investments and development within the hotel sector. Those plans are ongoing with a view to see how best, when we re-engineer urban areas in Bridgetown, we'll be able to project a wonderful fit. You can see, for example, what we've done in respect of National Hero Square Park and other projects in order to lift Bridgetown up. In respect of Hinck Street, a lot of that land, if not all, is owned by private holders. I do agree with you that it needs a lift. I do not believe that it should be boarded up. And therefore, obviously through moral suasion, we would have to encourage the owners of private property in that general vicinity to build out additional or to refurbish if they wish to. But I'm also aware that there are interests in respect of the building on Hinck Street and what can be done to build out iconic Bridgetown. In respect of Princess Alice Highway, a lot of that land going, if you're leaving Bridgetown on the left, heading to the Bridgetown port, short of the fish market, a lot of that, and the abattoir, where BADMC is located, and the fisheries complex, you know, it's private land. But what I can tell you, on the area near the heliport, because we had to relocate a number of the members of the boating community from that area to bring them away from that area to facilitate the construction that will start there. The port undertook an expansion program. I'll let the Chief Executive Officer of the port, Mr. John Rees, speak to that. And it's about protecting the boating community to ensure that they have the relevant berths that they can facilitate. And obviously, it's a critical part of our tourism infrastructure and build and spend, and therefore we're doing what we have to do to protect it. Obviously, the window to the sea, as we often refer to open lands, famously known as Travis Way, remain an idyllic spot for visitors when they come to Barbados to take pictures. You would have seen what the National Conservation Commission continues to do there as part of the National Tourism Program and other works that we have planned there for other facilities to be built out. Not to obstruct the view, Honourable Member, but to ensure that we have facilities, especially when locals and visitors alike go to visit that area. As you go into the Bridgetown port, you would have heard earlier, a lot of the works that we're undertaking at the port in respect of berth 6, the bill out there to have additional berth for cargo, and when it's not in use for cargo, to have additional facilities for the cruise ships that we're bringing here in our huge numbers. So along that way, we can see obviously Pelican, you would have seen it's being repainted. You still have a lot of locals and tourists in that area. You have the art gallery, you have the handicraft, you have other, including restaurants and so on, serving local dishes. So we will continue to build it out. And I will ask the CEO of the port just briefly to speak to the issue in respect of the boating community, not too far from where the helipad is located. Mr. Jean-Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. My name is David Jean-Marie, Chief Executive of Barbados Port. As Minister indicated, we have facilitated the Pierhead Development Project by working with our tenants, the boaters there, the monohull and the catamarans and the large party boats, and relocated them away from that location, which is part of the project. The monohulls, the smaller yachts, have been repositioned to the inner careenage fully. We have employed additional persons to lift the bridge so as not to inconvenience the members who need to go out at the early times. We've had 1 or 2 instances where there may have been delays, but for the most part, it has worked quite well. We have also improved the facilities to the north of the careenage for the catamarans. We've spent about $1.2 million in ensuring that the catamarans can moor alongside with the various facilities for water, electricity, and parking for the guests drop-off. With respect to the party boats, we've built out the location south of the fish market, adjacent to the heliport area for those large party boats, at another cost of about $1.3 million. So we paid substantial sums, approximately $2.5 million, to reposition the various boats that are adjacent to the Pierhead location in order to facilitate that project, but ensuring that those tenants are comfortable.
And one other point, and related to hotel investments, and since you're on that topic, I would want to say to you and to other honorable members of this House that when we were here on the last occasion in the chamber, in the Standing Finance Committee, I had made a commitment to our divestment program in respect of Hotel and Resorts Limited. Obviously, I gave the assurance on that occasion that that was part of our remit, because we have to ensure that we have hotels in Barbados that are profitable and productive, and those that are very valuable assets to the Barbados taxpayer and to the economy. And I am pleased to inform that of certain very encouraging developments in respect of the respective properties owned by Hotel and Resorts Limited. In the case of the Savannah Hotel, the board of directors, pursuant to our mandate, they have agreed to sell the property to the highest bidder. There was obviously a process that they have followed, and that will be disposed of. Of course, at the appropriate time, I will give the country a fuller update in respect to who won the bid and how much they're going to pay for the property in respect of full disclosure. Of course, in transactions like these, you would respect investor confidence to the point, but I give the House the assurance that we will be communicating via the appropriate media or divestment of that particular project. The other issue that I would like to draw to your attention to is the second property within the Hotel and Resorts Limited portfolio, Blue Horizon. As I speak, there are requests for proposals being submitted. Once those requests are evaluated by the board, and the board submits a recommendation to the ministry, obviously that will be given due consideration. I thought I would use this opportunity, honorable member, to give you an update in respect of what we have planned. It is not a secret because I said it on the floor, as I indicated last time we were here in the Standing Finance Committee, that we were going to divest. I am pleased to report that we've accomplished 50% of that mission, and the remaining 50 shall be completed, I dare say, within a month, month and a half, once the bids have been properly evaluated and the recommendations submitted to the ministry. I want to go back to the Chief Executive Officer of the port. I would like him to elaborate on the shadow draft facility and the shadow draft project being currently undertaken at the Bridgetown Port. Mr. Jarmy.
Thank you, Minister. When we reported here last, you said that the shallow draft project was 50% completed. It is approximately 95% now. This project will see an expansion in the availability of berths for pleasure craft, additional 50, including 10 for large vessels, 60 feet long by 20 feet wide. We are also, this project should be completed by May, June this year. There is also a mini mart, which is substantially completed, as well as efficient facilities for those persons who play their trade at the sand pit. I should mention the berthing fees. This project was a $40 million project. It has provided significant enhancements, including wave attenuation structures to deal with the waves that come into that during the north swells and so on that create problems in that area. That was a substantial cost. We've also relocated the facilities for the inter-island schooners that play their trade from St. Vincent and St. Lucia every week, bringing fruit and vegetables. There was, you may recall, a serious accident in the area where one lost control a couple of years ago, smashed into a catamaran and caused substantial damage. We've relocated that facility to the outside of that area so that we improve the safety of the operations inside of the shallow draft area. As a result, we've had to adjust fees, and we are having ongoing conversations with the tenants. We are trying to bring them in line with what is happening internationally and in the Caribbean, structure of the tariffs, where we were charged by lengths and so on, rather than what we do currently. It is obviously an increase compared to what was being paid before. We've offered the existing tenants a 25% discount for the first year, followed by a 10% discount for the following year. We are still having the conversation, as it is indeed a bit of an increase compared to previous years, but we have to move to recover some of the investment in a reasonable manner.
Thank you for that, and I also give the pleasure craft operators the assurance that I will also be engaging them to ensure that we see a greater opportunity for us to complete it. But one thing I would like to suggest and to make the point here, the whole issue, because there are a number of small business persons who are involved in pleasure craft operations, and I want to give, who are called, the so-called small man. But these entrepreneurs are being given an opportunity at the port. And we are going to continue to create increase and certainly stronger linkages regarding the cruise ships for the taxi operators, for the pleasure craft, for them to get more business, for the local farmers and other providers of goods and services. So the whole issue of, as I said last Friday, I want to see now a pouring down, not a trickling down, a pouring down of benefits and additional business for what we call in Barbados, so-called small man. And we're going to work to accomplish that. And therefore, it is critical that we continue to listen and we continue to improve the operations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for your sobriety, calm, and maturity. I commend you for your approach to answering questions. And I feel certain that the Honourable Member for Christchurch West will at some opportune time speak where you were silent, certainly in relation to Hyatt. That is a project that holds the curiosity of Barbadians. So at some point, I know the member for Christchurch West is equal in sobriety, calm, and maturity, and that he will deal with that. I had thought to defer this question, but I will do now. Another member went to the issue of social media. And Minister, I want to say to you that there are at least 2 videos, I've seen 2 of them, on social media. And they speak very grandly as to these projects that the videos say either are ongoing in Barbados or pending in Barbados. Certainly within your portfolio, one speaks of multi-millions of dollars to be spent on a railway from the port, from the seaport to the airport. And quite appropriately, your good colleague from Christchurch West erupts into laughter. His laughter may be based on his own personal knowledge as to the veracity of these videos. But I may say to you that people are curious. As Barbadians, we are curious from whence have come these ideas and to where do these ideas go. My simple question is this: is government aware that these videos exist, speaking for and on behalf and in the name of government? And if government is so aware, is government responsible in some way? And if government has no association with the videos, are you, Minister, in your calm, sober, and mature way, prepared to disavow these videos that have captured the attention of Barbadians and captured the attention with great curiosity residing in our bosoms at this point? What is this about, Minister?
Honourable, I don't know the video to which you refer. I don't know of it. And
You may be traveling too much.
And I travel often as I should in the interest of Barbados. And as you quite rightly would have heard in this chamber, if you don't go to destination, you won't be able to get an additional 65,000 seats. I might add, perhaps this morning, and perhaps this morning I should also tell...
Seats or passengers?
Sorry?
Seats or passengers?
We're bringing the aircraft capacity here.
Oh, I see.
Once we get the capacity here, then we will convert. Of course, we will convert them to passengers. But suffice to say, the fact that the airlines have the confidence to put as many aircraft and to put as much airlift as they've done on the route tells us, one, that there's demand, strong demand for Barbados coming out to the United States and other markets, and in particular that they see opportunity for them to sell. I mean, an airline will not put an aircraft on a destination or route if they believe they're going to lose money, and certainly they will not lose money on the route. The other thing which I wish to share with you is that United Airlines commencing this Thursday, coming out of Newark, New Jersey airport, we will have additional seats coming in from that sector, that airport. They will be, United will be providing a daily service from this Thursday, March the 7th, until May the 1st. That will bring to Barbados an additional 9,845 seats into Barbados seating capacity. Of course, we will have to, you can only analyze the load factor once the plane touches down in Barbados. But based on what they have done, once again, is a signal, the confidence that the reports in Barbados, the strong demand that they're seeing. You recall that this United Airlines flight of Newark, New Jersey, only came here once a week. But between March 7th and May 1 of this year, there will be a daily service, like I said, totaling 9,845 seats. I should also let you know that the JetBlue service out of Boston will be moving, well, we're moving to a twice-weekly service. This represents a 50% improvement on what they're offering out to the Boston region. So effectively what I'm saying, Honourable Member, is that in this year, I'm going into, yes, continuing into the winter season, and post-winter, you will have an additional 12,545 seats. Now, if we can maintain that inventory, plus the 65,000 coming, already you would have seen that we are looking at about 77,000 seats already. Now, beyond that, we are also in further dialogue and in discussion with airline operators. And since you mentioned about travel, I will be leaving this afternoon to go to ITB, again, to meet not only with hoteliers and other tour operators, but I will also be making a stop, I believe, for a couple hours in the United Kingdom to have discussions again with our major airlines. All this is being done, Honourable Member, to ensure that we drive the capacity. Now, once we have brought the capacity, air capacity to Barbados, no association or nobody can criticize this government for lack of air seats into the destination. It is now up to those who are marketing their hotels to ensure they do like what Sandals and other hotel companies do in order to secure their base on the airline, on the particular aircraft, to ensure that they also fill the occupancy. But one thing we will not be blamed for, because we provided the airlift, is that the occupancy should go up. So it's up now to the people in the hotel sector who market the hotels to take advantage of all the airlift capacity that we've brought to Barbados. And like I said, I haven't finished yet. I'm going to be on the road trying to get additional airlift into the destination. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And just as follow-up, given the chance, I suspect you would want to make the distinction between seats and passengers, 77,000 seats. In your capacity, though, I'd like to follow up and ask quickly, making your projections, what would be the ideal percentage occupancy of those 77,000 seats? What would you consider a successful venture in terms of filling those seats? What percentage would you consider acceptable? 100?
Well,
sorry.
The issue obviously is, the question is, do we have the carrying capacity in Barbados to drive what we're doing in terms of air seat capacity in Barbados? That's when it's a capacity accommodation. We do. And oftentimes you would hear in the news reports suggesting where people saying, well, hotels aren't full or we're at 50%. Truth be told, we have to get better at forecasting, and we have to get better at recording actual occupancies in hotels.
Right.
You know, oftentimes you hear somebody saying, well, you know, business is down, but you don't get the information. But what we have to do now is to move to a platform where occupancy is reported either to the Barbados Statistical Service or some other independent body, so that you can get a feel for where you are. Because if you're driving the airlift to the destination, there should be no complaints. Certainly, if you take the example of Virgin Atlantic, they put an additional 2 aircraft on the Barbados route between January and March. And I can also tell the Chamber that they've committed to us that those 2 additional services will continue through 24-25 winter season. So they too are seeing the demand. But if we are having this increased demand, the passengers are coming. Like I said, the planes, Virgin and BA and American, the others, not going to fly empty planes to Barbados. If they see a dip, of course, they will pull a move. So the issue for us is how best can we account? And we have to account not only from what we call the traditional accommodation sector in hotels, but we also have the Airbnb, we have the Verbo and other platforms that provide a booking engine for people to come to Barbados. As I walk around Barbados and people congratulate the BTM and the ministry and myself for the work we've done, they will say, look at the beaches. You can't, when you go to the beaches, they're crowded. When you go into a restaurant, you can't get a booking. They are staying someplace, and they're staying oftentimes not only traditional accommodation sector, but like I said, in the Airbnb Verbo type. We have to find a way to account for inventory at those properties, and obviously we have to work collaboratively with, the Beta Group and the BHTA to ensure that we have a platform. It also, frankly, helps the ministry to plan. When I came to the ministry, a pet peeve of mine would have been data, because in order to make commercial decisions, you must have data. And therefore, if you have the data, you can make informed decisions. And therefore, we are moving gradually. We don't want to twist and bend any arms, but we're moving gradually to see if we can get that data, because it helps us. If we know, for example, what is the booking pace like in the forward bookings in the hotel sector, or generally the accommodation sector, it could then help me as a minister work with the ministry's team and the BTMA to say, okay, this is an area, looks a bit soft, it's not pacing as we would like. Let's do a targeted marketing intervention in this area or in these markets to drive additional business to Barbados. Or let's put a package of incentives working with the accommodation sector to drive business to the destination. And that's what we have to do. But we are working on it, like I said, and it's an opportunity for us to make good on what we have.
Thank you. So that your statement is that we are weak in terms of forecasting, except that I was still hoping to press you, Minister, into saying whether you would find 60% occupancy of those airplane seats, 70%, 85% acceptable. When one considers, and you will correct me if I'm wrong, since I'm not omniscient, whether in some cases it is the government that uses the taxpayers' money to pay for empty seats, so that we would like some kind of, to tell the taxpayer of Barbados what percentage you would find acceptable, 60, 70%, when we consider that there are some cases in which we pay for those empty seats.
Well, Honourable Member, I will take you back to my opening remarks. In my opening remarks, I indicated that Barbados is not paying one dime for any minimum revenue guarantees from the United States market. Mm-hmm. We're not, what we do is we go behind the gateway and we promote Barbados in the gateway. Mm-hmm. Virgin brought additional aircraft to Barbados, additional 2 in the winter, mm-hmm. and they're doing well. A minimum revenue guarantee would...
I beg your pardon, so we're not paying for the U.S., but
we're not paying
other source
no,
markets?
No, and we're not paying for we're not paying for any airlift in the United States coming out of this Canada for this summer. We are working on a program, and we will make an announcement of that to increase summer business from Canada. That may require. And look, as I indicated, we have corporate airlines. Corporate airlines came to Barbados with 1 flight. When I joined the ministry, we were able to move it from 1 flight to 4 flights. The initial 1 flight would require maybe a guarantee. But today, if you ask the officers, did they utilize the guarantee? The answer is no. Because what the airlines like you to do is to say, if I come to your destination, I just want to have a minimum guarantee. And it can go in a number of ways. But the issue is this. When you look at it, the previous Democratic Labour Party government spent $42 million in revenue, and we call it a minimum revenue guarantee program. This Barbados Labour Party administration since 2018 only spent $7.5 million, okay? And the reality is that when I flew last June, in the sweltering heat of the summer, going into Dallas to meet with American Airlines didn't ask us for any revenue guarantee. When we left the meeting, they said they would review it. And we were in constant discussions with the Mr. UC Ski and Mr. Peter Mears, 2 standing directors, both from the Canadian and US market respectively. Mm-hmm. And we were able to confirm those arrangements and to get the traffic here because we went to them, we put the case to them, and did it. And the other thing I might tell you very interestingly, Honourable Member, that because of compliance issues, airlines are moving away from that. What airlines, United for example, there's no revenue guarantee. What airlines like to do is to build business on an incremental platform. And that is so, and then for other compliance issues, because you well know some of these companies are public companies. And when you're a public company, you have to be very careful how you interact and how you deal with government and financing. So I have said before, if you have to generate new airlifter market, particularly from different sources, and you have to incentivize an airline to come to Barbados, then we have to do so. And I make no apology for it only because by doing that, you can stabilize. It doesn't mean, for example, that if you have a revenue guarantee in place, that you'll be paying the revenue because it is based on either the occupancy of the aircraft, we call load factors, and it also deals with the yield on the aircraft as well. So you might see an aircraft coming in here maybe with, 150 seat capacity, but they may come in maybe with 80 or 90 passengers, but you may think that it's flying empty. But the yield on the passenger on that flight will be so high that you don't even have to pay for revenue guarantee. So that is the way we have to go about it. And the other benefit of having these incentives for airlines is to ensure you have airlift. Because during a peak period, you also want to bring them for non-peak periods as well, so that the people in the accommodation sector can benefit. So I spoke to at length when we discussed, when I was invited to the BHTA quarterly meeting, I think it was. I spoke to the whole issue of revenue guarantees, why we have to do it, how much money was spent in the past, how much money we've spent. But our vision and this strategic initiative is to ensure we put money behind the gateway in terms of marketing, so that when you are in Boston, Honourable Member, with your family, and you look up, you can see come to Barbados, or come home this summer, or we gathering in Barbados. And if you decide to take your family down to San Francisco on the West Coast, you will also see it. And if you go into Chicago as well, and we are, by the way, and we are also negotiating to see how best we can get even additional airlift out to Chicago. So you have a team at the ministry, hard at work, a little travel is involved, and you know me, I like to canvas, and this job takes a lot of my time. But I love to canvas on the ground. So you can imagine the premium that I place when I have to leave Barbados to go on campus, because to canvas for additional airlift. But I do it because the economic fortunes of Barbados demand it. And I know this ministry is almost like an economic ministry. And if you don't deliver, then I serve at the Prime Minister's pleasure. So if you don't deliver, you know what will happen. But thanks be to God, I have delivered with my team at the ministry and the BTMI to ensure that we can do what we long for. And the other point, Mr. Speaker, is that when you see, for example, come November, the return of Delta Airlines, that was absent from Barbados since 2017. We were in office in 2017. And when you see American Airlines return to Barbados from JFK, and we were not in office when they left, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, through you, it tells you that the government is hard at work. And I must also, for the record, thank the Prime Minister for the support that she's given the BTMI, the ministry, in order to execute the mandate. But when you look at it pound for pound, I believe even you, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, will conclude that we're working hard, and as you describe it, in the patriotic interests of Barbados. Thank you, sir.
For the record, I never say that. But a discerning public, I beg your pardon?
Honourable.
This is the third question, sir.
Yes. And
This is the third question. I was following up with your indulgence.
Proceed.
I don't know why the Honourable Member for Christchurch East is intervening. He came late.
You do not.
Don't be distracted by him, sir.
Distracted by yourselves.
I'm protecting you from him.
No, I'm protecting you from him as well. Proceed.
It is mutual. Thank you so much, sir.
Inform Barbados as you seem to
Yes,
want to
I
do,
think he's heard you.
telling them things they already know. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes. Minister, a discerning public will embrace the word, the operative word that you use, incentivize the airlines. I think we know what you mean. Your language is very subtle, very diplomatic, very clever, but let us move on. And I'm going to move in a direction in which you politicize the matter of policy. And you probably would be a little disappointed if I did not engage you on that. Now, as you know, Minister, a government is continuous, and you've spoken to thunderous applause from your colleagues. You excited them. And they're probably excited because this government is able to embrace what previous governments did and did successfully. So that I hope that applause would extend to the penchant for embracing past projects and appearing to have success with them. There's GOL, G-O-L, that's an airline that was brought in prior to your administration. There's Avianca. There's Copa. And to move away from the airlines, there would be an IDB program for tourism. I'm sure you know of that. There's the Sandoz investment, all done prior to your dispensation. The Indigo investment, well embraced by the present government, and we congratulate you for your ability to embrace. And then there's the airport, seaport redevelopment, warm embrace by this government, and we congratulate you for that ability to embrace. But we know that in relationships, the embrace is not consummation of the relationship. And then, you know, the public can easily get the impression with this government's excitement over St. Philip that this government started the Sam Lords project. Somebody who is not careful with his vision and general knowledge of things in Barbados, the Honourable Member for Christchurch West, he also has a very warm embrace. And, but you will admit, Minister, that these projects and the Sam Lords project was begun long before you had the privilege of occupancy in this place. So that this is an opportunity for you to say that your embrace of these projects is an acceptance of the visionary policies undertaken back then, and that you as present minister are now happy to accept and to embrace these projects, even if you do it as your own. But you're not like that. But you're happy that these projects came along and fell into your warm embrace.
But honourable member of the opposition, you know, and I have come from the corporate sector, and perhaps I should probably give you a more commercial perspective.
Yes.
Oftentimes, you might have a roadmap, but there's some people who don't know how to get the roadmap. And I believe the last administration had a roadmap in words, but could not deliver it in actions. I take you back to your points. You know, you can also have a chief executive officer who is competent and who can realize the objectives of the company, and there's one who will struggle to do so. I believe it's fair to say that this Barbados Labour Party administration has charted a proper course for tourism development. We had record numbers in 2019, and I am convinced that as we go forward, if I'm still minister or there's another minister, that the Barbados Labour Party government, the administration that I'm a part of, will also see record numbers of arrivals into Barbados. But let me take you back to GOL, for example. It was a Brazilian charter. It started on the last administration, and it ended under the last administration. Avianca started on the last administration, ended under the last administration. Copa, the officials here from BTA can correct me, COPA started under this Barbados Labour Party administration. And it started because when I came to office, I felt it necessary to build out a Latin American strategy. And the Latin American strategy has worked. In fact, if you look at the arrivals for January, Latin America has the most significant growth through Copa Airlines. And I made the point in my opening remarks that if you look and see where the source of business came from, it came from Argentina, it came from Costa Rica, it came from those areas within what we call Latin America that can drive business to the destination. The National Tourism Program, as you well know, yes, that was a program that was negotiated by the former administration. But if I had my way, you can't renege on these things, but if I had my way, I perhaps, if I were at the time a minister, I perhaps would have asked and directed for certain things to be done, which could improve, for example, the national tourism offerings. The Sandals investment is widely known. Sandals is what it is. The reality is, if you ask Sandals now, are they doing better today in this environment versus the previous environment? Are they making more money that gave them the confidence to expand? And that's the point I made. You have sometimes a competent CEO, and oftentimes you have one who just can't get the results. I'm happy to say that government is a continuum, and yes, there are projects that the former government would have inherited from the Barbados Labour Party. Some of them they didn't execute well, others they may have. But the reality is that this government, through very strategic initiatives, have helped to ensure that notwithstanding we are coming out of COVID, that we are recovering, but we have to look beyond recovery. And that is the strategic focus of the government and the Ministry of Tourism. I hope I would have answered. And when you look at the growth as well, Honourable Member, the Governor of the Central Bank has reported on the growth, and the growth of the sector is going in the right direction. And touch wood, we hope that it continues for a long time. Thank you, sir.
Yes, and you did exclude Sam Lords, but that's okay.
I didn't want to share my thoughts with you on Sam Lords.
No, please don't.
But we can do that on the developmental level in terms of the strategy.
Yes.
But I reserve those comments on another occasion.
The government's ongoing test right now is Hyatt. That's the government's ongoing test. As compared against Sam Lords, Hyatt, nothing is happening there. So that is this government's ongoing test.
I don't think it's fair to say nothing is happening. The hotel is open. It has 400.
Hyatt is open?
No, you said Sam Lords? Or you
I
said
said that Hyatt, not Hyatt, the other one in St. Philip, Sam Lords, that you left Sam Lords out in your review, your last review. That's fine. We all make little errors. Nothing to worry about. But I'm saying to you, as a follow-up with His Honour's indulgence, that this government's test, if you accept that the last government succeeded, got a passing grade, a high passing grade with Sam Lords, you will similarly accept that this government is experiencing, in silence, is experiencing a failing grade with Hyatt. But let us not argue. Let us not argue. I'm obliged to you, sir. And safe travels, please.
No, thank you. But I wouldn't want you to say that that we are touting the success of any form of government, because they made a clear distinction. You can have a plan, you can have a roadmap. The issue is how do you get there, and at the end of the period, can you measure it and see that you've accomplished what you set out? And I made the point that I believe in a very short 5 years, notwithstanding COVID and the impact of COVID, that we have recovered well, and we are on the rebound for very serious growth in tourism sector. Thank you.
Yes, we do look forward to walking into Hyatt one day. Yes.
Honourable.
Mr. Chair.
Your Honour, with the reserve right to follow up on other members' questions, I think that is a right I have. That when a member asks, yes?
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir.
Honourable Member for Christchurch East.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that you do not report progress as Honour the Speaker and beg for leave to sit again.
The question is that I do not report progress to His Honour the Speaker. Beg for leave to sit again. All honorable members in favor, say aye. All members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Chairman has reported progress and asks for leave to sit again.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that we do suspend for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, sir, and return at 12:10, 10 past 12.
The question is that this honorable chairman be suspended until 10 minutes after 12. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This honorable chairman stands suspended until 10 minutes after 12.